Adorama TV presents Getting the Shot with Corey Rich.
Hi, I'm Corey Rich, and in this episode of Exploring the Creative Process, we're going to talk about shooting in incredibly low light at altitude. Several years ago, I had the incredible opportunity to join David Lama and Peter Ortner in the Karakoram Mountains of Pakistan. The Karakoram mountain range is really one of the most magnificent mountain ranges in the world. It's the second highest peak in the world, K2, and also one of the greatest rock climbs of all time, the Trango Tower. As the photographer and filmmaker on this expedition, I was really tasked with documenting the trip. That was everything from sleeping on planes to getting on buses filled with chickens to travel the Karakoram Highway to hiking into the base camp. And then most importantly, it was documenting the climbing expedition. Everything from the lifestyle in camp to actually ascending the ropes on the granite wall of the Trango Tower. But today we're going to focus in on one image and really talk about how this came about. The photograph is of David and Peter hunkered down in a snow cave at our high camp the night before we made the final push to the summit of the Trango Tower. Now, I always say this half jokingly, but actually very honest, that the more you suffer as a photographer, the more uncomfortable the situation, the better the photograph typically is. This situation, we're pretty high. We're somewhere in that 17 to 18,000 foot elevation range. And for those of you that have been at 17 or 18,000 feet, your brain doesn't work that well at that elevation. There's not a lot of oxygen. You have a headache. You're tired. It's hard to think straight. In this situation, we had already climbed all day. We left our base camp to get to our high camp so that the next day we could make the push for the summit. And it was time for dinner. There was a howling wind blowing in over the ridgeline. It was really cold, is my point. So getting into the snow cave, pulling the sleeping bags on, boiling tea and boiling hot water for food was kind of all I wanted to do. But I saw this situation beginning to evolve. The sun was setting over the Karakoram Mountains, and I saw David and Peter inside the cave. And every instinct inside of my body said, Corey, you've shot enough pictures and video today. Get inside the cave and try to stay warm. But instead, as a photographer, as a journalist, as a documentary filmmaker, I forced myself to stay out of the cave and wait for that low light, the ambient light from the sky to match the artificial light coming from David and Peter's headlamps. It felt like an eternity as I stood out there on the snow with freezing feet, cold hands, and wind blowing in my face. Now, we were traveling so light in the mountains that I didn't have a tripod, and I think that's a real takeaway from this photograph. Don't be afraid to shoot slow shutter speeds handheld. Less is more is my philosophy. So I was shooting on a Nikon D600. I was using a Nikkor 17 to 35 millimeter lens, f2.8, and I was literally hunched down in the snow with my elbows against my chest, bracing the camera against my eye. So for this photograph, the perfect exposure was a 15th of a second, f2.8, 800 ISO. When the ambient light in the sky was finally darker than the headlamps, one, I felt like I had made a cool picture, and two, it was finally my excuse to stop taking pictures and crawl into the snow cave and warm up with hot tea and eating dinner. I hope you take away three things from this episode of Exploring the Creative Process. One, show up early and stay late. I know that's kind of two, but we'll call that one, because that's when you make surprising pictures. Number two, don't be afraid to use high ISOs on your camera. You will be blown away at how incredible the images look. And number three, don't use the excuse, I don't have a tripod, so I have to stop shooting. Shoot slow shutter speeds handheld. Just shoot enough frames so that you get one that's in focus. I promise the payoff will be worth it. Memory's cheap these days. Be sure to check out Adorama's next online contest because there's an opportunity to win all kinds of cool equipment. Thanks for listening. I'm Corey Rich. You're watching Adorama TV. Tons of video content is published just like this, and it's free, which is the best part. So if you're not already subscribed to Adorama TV, be sure to subscribe and tune in next time for another episode of Exploring the Creative Process.
Do you want great-looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy-to-use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.